excited to go play Washington. Good football team. They are kind of went through the rough spot in their schedule where they, played Stanford, Oregon, and Arizona State, three good football teams back to back to back. I think Washington's a top 25 team. I really do. I believe that. I think they've just played some other very good football teams. I think they've got that kind of talent and have that kind of team. I think the Pac-12 is tough. It's a tough league, and there's a lot of good teams right now, and there's a pretty fine margin between winning and losing. And they had the ball against Stanford driving to have a chance to win. At the end of the game, got a call, I think, overturned, and didn't really get a chance to let that thing play out. So they're that kind of football team. That was on the road against Stanford, and so that's what kind of team they've got. They've got good speed, they've got good size, a lot of good individual players. I think the quarterback's a good player. Obviously, the running back's good, the tight end's good. A lot of weapons on offense, and then defensively, I think they're big up front. I think their linebackers are athletic and make a lot of plays. So they're a good football team, and I'm sure they're going to be keyed up and ready to play for us, this week. Be an emotional week for them, with the passing of Coach James and what he means to Washington and what he meant to college football. I think that'll be a big emotional lift for their team, and it'll be a big challenge for us.
Can you talk about the reason to not practice yesterday and what went behind that decision?
Yeah. Part of it we were just worn out. I mean, we had a lot of late night games and travel, and so this is the time of year where typically you back off a little bit in terms of what you do in practice. And so what we decided to do was try to give them a little time off to rest and recuperate a little bit, and then we'll start back up. Basically, today will be a typical Monday practice, and then follow through that case. We'll go a little heavier on Thursday than we normally do, and then our Friday will be like a Thursday, and so it'll be a little bit different schedule. But we play so late Saturday night, our players will have time to recover, and so our guys should be fresh. We'll have 30 hours almost from the end of practice until we play on Saturday.
Is physically recuperating, or sort of getting your mental energies recharged?
A little bit of both. Yeah, a little bit of both. I mean, I think at a place like Cal, you got to give the kids some time to take care of their academic things as well. Just a day, where they're not having to worry about practicing football or watching film or any of that kind of stuff. And so, they were, they utilized Monday to get caught up and try to get ahead academically, and I think it's a big deal. And then, you want to change something up a little bit as well. So I think anything you can do to tweak it a little bit when you're not playing well, I think is a positive. And so, we're trying to be creative and figure out some ways to get our guys to play better.
You've faced a series of passers week after week after week, some of them runners, some of them in the pocket last week, but now you've got 2 weeks in a row you're facing two of the better running backs in the country. Talk about Sankey and the challenge they present you.
Yeah, he's a back that runs very, very hard. I mean, he's an impressive guy. Runs low, finishes runs, very physical runner. And so that's going to be a big thing for us. Is we got to do a good job of stopping the run, tackling, being physical. Not giving him a lot of grass to run in. Our linebackers need to play well. Close those openings and not give him too much daylight. He's just a really productive running back, the kind of guy you want because he finishes runs so well and is capable of making big plays as well. So, really good running back. Reminds me a lot of Kadeem Carey, that we'll face next week, and two of the best backs in the country.
Can you talk about where you're at in the quarterback situation right now? We see on the depth chart it's listed as or. So what's the mindset?
We'll just we'll let the guys practice this week and kind of see what we think. We don't really have any kind of preconceived notion at this point. We'll let them both practice and then try to get a feel for where they are and how they are and what's going on.
Do you think we were talking with Jordan about some of the struggles with the offensive line in terms of injuries and adapting to the new system? It seems like there's a lot of pressure on the quarterbacks. Is Klein maybe better with the escapability and the ability to improvise in the pocket? Could that make him a better option at this point?
Well, I think early on, Jared, was doing some things too, moving out of the pocket, moving around a little bit. There's always the fine line there between guys take off and run, and you don't want a quarterback that doesn't go through his reads. The last thing in the world we want is somebody who's not going to go through the reads and not going to see things. And so, whether it's Jared or Zach or whomever, it all begins, with us being able to run the football. If we can run the ball, then it keeps us out of third down and long, and it also, it makes the quarterback's job a lot easier. We're not putting the game in a true freshman's quarterback hands, play after play after play, and relying on him to make those decisions all the time. And so, that's tough to do. But I think Zach gave us some energy the other day. I thought he ran around and made some plays and did some things. But as I said, there's, sometimes that's not maybe as positive as guys want it to be. I mean, he can't make a living scrambling. I mean, that's not what we're gonna be able to do offensively. I mean, he's not a Michael Vick quarterback. I mean, he moves around pretty well, but he's not gonna go have an 80-yard touchdown run or anything.
The decision on the starter, is that solely focused on who gives you the best chance to win this week? Is there any thought about the future and grooming Jared more, giving Zach a chance to get some more game experience?
Yeah, we need to try to win some football games. I mean, that's you want to do that, but also you never want to lose sight of the overall your program and where you're headed. So those are decisions that are tough, and we have to make them all the time. And just what we think gives us the best chance to not only win this week, but win a year from now.
That being said, how has Jared handled what's gone on?
Oh, he's good. Yeah, he's good.
And how much do you really have to really watch and make sure that mentally you don't lose him with what's going on?
Yeah, I think he's like everybody else. I mean, he's taken a little shot to his confidence, and I think we have as a football team. And there's been a number of reasons why, but and they're not all his fault. Some of the things that have happened certainly haven't been his fault entirely, and it's kind of we share in it collectively. But but I think his psyche's good. And that's kind of what we'll see this week is, who we think is practicing and with the most confidence.
Is that mostly what it comes down to? Who performs better in practice this week, or is it just?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. I think that's kind of what we have to go on at this point.
And early in the year, it was said that Jared maybe grasped the offense a bit better and was accurate. How much has Zach closed that gap since fall camp?
Well, I think he hadn't gotten as many reps maybe as Jared has, so I think he's probably a little bit behind in that regard. I think, like as I said, I think he gave us a spark Saturday. And so, we'll see how it goes this week in practice. Who executes the best, who makes the best decisions, who we feel like has the most confidence as we move into the game. Because really, that's the important thing for young quarterbacks is confidence. If a guy, young quarterbacks, inexperienced guys don't often play well, especially their first year in a new offense. But sometimes they think they're good, and sometimes the fact they think they're good is just as important as them being good. And I think that's critical for our guys to have a sense of confidence.
Going against a very strong running team like Washington, how important is it for a guy like DeAndre Coleman to get a lot of penetration in the middle? And do you expect him maybe to be a little more pumped up playing in his hometown, that type of thing?
Yeah, I think so. I think DeAndre will be excited to play. I mean, I think anytime you have a chance to go home and compete in front of your family and friends and against kind of your hometown school, I think that's a big deal. It's going to be big. I mean, our defensive line, the way they play, particularly this week, their ability to stay in gaps and stay square and maintain space is going to be very important.
You've been around football for a long time. I'm sure you've seen a lot of linemen who've went on to the NFL. What are your thoughts on DeAndre Coleman and his potential beyond college?
Yeah, I think DeAndre certainly has an opportunity to play at the next level. I think you know, the funny thing about the NFL is, you know, all of it has to do with, you know, there's 100 maybe elite guys, or probably less than that, 25 really elite players that, you know, can play anywhere. And then after that, there's a lot of guys that, you know, if given the right circumstances and the right place at the right time and stay healthy and find the right scheme and where they fit and all that, then, you know, can be successful players. And, I mean, you know, some of the best players in the league were guys like that, the Tom Bradys of the world, who coming out, you know, if Tom Brady, you know, goes to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers instead of the New England Patriots, we're probably not having this conversation. I mean, it's just he found the right scheme for him at the right time and got an opportunity. And I think that's what the NFL is so much about, is just being at the right place at the right time. So, you know, DeAndre certainly has the physical capabilities to do it, and you know, but I think a lot of that's going to depend on, you know, where he goes and how he fits and how they utilize him and all that kind of stuff.
You talked a little bit in your preamble about Washington's defense. They're number one and statistically against the pass in the league. What sort of things what makes them so good against the pass?
Well, you know, they've gotten, you know, consistent pressure on people, you know, this year. I mean, they're, and really that's where your ability to stop the pass always begins, your ability to rush the passer. And so they do a pretty good job doing that. You know, part of it too, they've played some running teams. You know, when you look at their schedule, you know, they haven't necessarily played the teams that are going to throw the ball a lot. So that always has a little bit to do with the statistics, you know, who you played and what they try to do to you. But, you know, they've played good defense. I mean, that's just good team defense. They run to the ball well. They've got a lot of good athletes. They've got length. You know, it's a long defense in terms of, you know, guys that you know, big wingspans and you know, that they can cover a lot of ground. And so, and they're athletic enough where you know, the windows are pretty small. And so, you know, they're good at what they do.
Where does the pressure mostly come from? Do they blitz a lot, or
You know, they do their share. You know, most of the time it's just kind of guys winning one-on-one matchups. You know, they've gotten some pressure from the defensive end positions. The tackles are both big guys and have done a good job pushing the pile, you know, and pushing the protection back in the quarterback's face. And so that's, you know, and then when they've blitzed, they've gotten there. Their linebackers are good guys in the blitz game. As I said, they're long and athletic, and, you know, do a good job getting off blocks and defeating, you know, single blocks.
Sonny, we had Jordan in here a few minutes ago talking about the offensive line, and particularly the last couple of weeks, he said that, you know, they take it on their shoulders that the offense hasn't been more productive. How do you evaluate how they've played this year, and why the past 2 weeks maybe has the offense not done better?
Well, you know, I think, you know, we knew coming in, I mean, that's a young group, you know, without a lot of experience. You know, when you sat down, you said, you know, Stephen Moore is a redshirt freshman, and you said Matt Cochran was a redshirt freshman, and, you know, we had a little experience with Adcock and Rigsby playing a little bit, and Freddie, you know, really hadn't played much. I mean, Freddie played in some ball games last year, but so anytime that you have an offensive line and those are your starters coming in, I mean, that's a young group, very, very young. There's just not a lot of experience there, and I think, you know, that's a big thing when you look at a football team, is how much experience do they have up front, and you try to look at them and see what kind of team they're going to have. So that was a young group. We knew it coming in. We knew, you know, we were going to have some growing pains, particularly with a freshman quarterback starting. You know, and we've had some guys that got hurt. You know, I think losing Matt hurt us. I think losing Chris hurt us. I think Bill Tyndall, you know, not really being full speed has hurt us. And so, you know, we felt like we had a pretty good core group of guys, but we didn't have a lot of depth. And so it's forced some you know, some guys to play maybe that, you know, they're battling, they're doing the best they can, but they're, you know, we're losing some of those one-on-one matchups right now, and so we got to do some things to do a better job protecting them. I think what happens is, you know, everything kind of goes together in football, and, you know, when you get down early in ball games and you're trying to catch up by throwing the football, and it puts a lot of pressure on your offensive line and your young quarterback, and some guys get exposed, and that's that's what's happened to us at times this year. And the good thing about that group is there's a lot of pride in those guys. They're working hard to get it fixed. They want to get it fixed. I think they'll get it fixed, and so we just gotta gotta take our lumps and get better with the youth. And then Stephen didn't play much last week, and that didn't help our depth as well either. Yeah, he's better. Yeah.
There were reports of Washington doing live tackling drills in practice today. Is that something you would ever consider doing in the season, especially this late?
Well, I mean, we're to the point if we get one linebacker hurt, we're gonna have to play with two linebackers. So I mean, it's just hard for us to do that right now. I mean, we're just so physically beat up and banged up, and just don't have the bodies to be able to do that right now. And it's not something that we've done in the past. I mean, it's like anything else. You always try to take stock of your football team and figure out what you need to do and how to get it better. And there's always a risk reward in every decision you make. There's always you pay the price for everything you do, and sometimes it benefits you and sometimes it doesn't. And so you always have to weigh those things. And anything you can do to make your team better, I think you have to do. But at the same time, you can't cut off your nose to spite your face.
Oregon State's their tight end was able to get behind the linebackers a couple times, and obviously Washington has one of the best in the country in Safarian Jenkins. Is that a tough thing for you guys to scheme for and prepare for without having really a true scout team tight end?
Not. I don't think that's that big of a deal. I mean, we'll have Vinny Johnson will be running through there. He'll probably line him up as a tight end, and I mean, obviously he can't run, like their tight end can, but we'll have somebody in there. The thing that makes it hard is that they run the football well. And when you run the ball well, your linebackers have got to do a good job of playing the run. And so, then you're susceptible to play action pass. And what happens then is Washington's got enough speed where you got to play your safeties, in some run support positions to help support the run. And when those guys creep up too much, then, they can run past you. And that's when the tight end can get loose and get over the top of your safeties or find some windows underneath them. So it's a little bit of kind of like we talked about earlier. You try to help your run game by really getting your linebackers downhill and your safeties downhill. But then, as I said, it makes you more susceptible to play action pass and seam routes and the vertical passing game.
Sonny, you got maybe the youngest offensive line coach in the country, a guy who'd never been the head line coach before. What did you see in him, at Louisiana Tech that convince you he was the guy you wanted, and how do you think he's done with this group?
Yeah, he's done a good job. I mean, he's a good football coach. He understands their system, played in it. We got complete, total trust in him. I think the linemen feel the same way. I think that we're trying to put it all together, and it's been a tough journey in a lot of different ways. But he's done a great job. I mean, Zach's a good football coach. We'll continue to get better and better, and I don't think that his perceived lack of experience has any impact on that group and how they're performing at all.
We get maybe just like a quick kind of injury update. Is any chance Lasco could be back this week? Is Cam Jackson's ankle okay?
Yeah, Cam's fine. Lasco, we'll kind of wait and see. I don't know for sure yet. We'll see how he progresses during the week.
And anyone else that could start practicing this week that hasn't been out for a few weeks?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
No.
You moved Harper inside, and then you put him back at the Z. Talk about why you did that.
Yeah, we did that a lot. A lot of that had to do with some matchups we felt like we could get against Washington State that particular week, and so there'll be some times we move him around a little bit. Number one, try to get him the ball more, and number two, it's a little bit easier to get inside receivers the ball than it is outside guys at times. And a lot of that has to do when we see a matchup that we want to try to take advantage of, and so that's kind of why that took place. Do you have questions? Yeah.
Yeah, Coach, you expressed frustration earlier in the year, or a few few weeks ago that you felt like your best game had been the Northwestern game, and you wanted to get back to that. Do you still feel like that was the best your team's performed, and how much can you lay at the feet of injuries, if so?
Oh, I think in some ways it probably was. I thought we played well at times against Ohio State. I think we played well at times against UCLA. We just struggled offensively, but I thought our defense really, played well at times. Part of it, I mean, it is, we were playing with a different set of guys defensively, in that first game than we are now. And, it's an excuse, but it's the truth. I mean, just all you have to do is look at the starting lineup and see how much different it was. So that's different, I mean, that's I think had we not had some of the injuries that we've had, I think our defense certainly would have been been better earlier, because we got decimated pretty quickly thereafter, and then almost had to start over in some cases, trying to just find guys and get them ready to play, and then you have the growing pains of doing that. I think what happens to a football team sometimes, and so much of football is playing with confidence, and I think that when you're playing with confidence, you play faster, you move faster, you make your decisions faster, you're not afraid to make mistakes. I think it makes you a better player when you feel that way, and I think that we lost our confidence a little bit early, and so we've been battling to get it back, and we'll get it back at some point. Hope it's this week, but I think we'll get it back at some point. And when we do, I think that'll give us a chance to play better as a football team, and so that's I've been on teams that weren't necessarily very good teams that had a lot of confidence and played much better than we were because of it. And then I've also coached on teams that were, probably a little bit better, that lacked some confidence and didn't play as well as a result. And I think that's, probably the case of this team. I mean, we've got some talent in some spots and some guys that can play, but collectively we haven't played as well as we need to. And I think that's what coaching is. I mean, that's our job, is to get our guys to play together as a football team, and so that's we've got to do a better job of coaching them and getting them ready to, able to play better as a football team than we are individually.
Sonny, it seems like Brendan Bigelow's role has kind of been diminished as not carrying the ball and getting thrown to in certain situations. What do you see for him this week and going forward?
Yeah, we're trying to we've kind of playing him at that inside receiver spot right now. He brings some speed to that position. He'll continue to play some at running back like he did the other night. That's a role that's going to take a little time for him to develop into. We think it's a role that he's comfortable with. We think it's something that he feels like he can do, physically. Yeah, kind of playing the slot. And, but there's a learning curve. And so, the problem we have with Brennan is we didn't have him in spring football. You know what I'm saying? So we didn't really get a sense of what he could do. And at times this year he's looked good. I mean, there's been times at the running back position he's looked good, but there just hasn't been a lot of consistency there. And so, and I think, like we talked about earlier, I think kind of a lack of confidence for him, physically and in his knee in some ways, and I think that's hindered him a little bit, and so I think he's more comfortable playing in that role, and now I think, we can develop him and hopefully, figure out a way to utilize him.
With all the injuries you've had this year, how much sympathy do you have for what Tedford went through last year in that same position?
I got a lot of sympathy. I mean, it's, going through this is no fun. I mean, it's not any fun. I mean, it's, it's tough. I mean, injuries happen. I mean, that's part of college football. You have cycles where, teams get injured for 2 years and and then have no injuries the next year, and that's kind of the cycle that we hope takes place. We hope we don't have one next year, and but it's like anything else. You do the best you can. I mean, when you have guys that get hurt, you have the next man up, and somebody steps up and takes their position, and nobody cares. I mean, everybody can say, well, you have injuries, but I mean, nobody cares. The only thing anybody cares about is winning and losing, and so I mean, it sounds good, but I mean, at the end of the day, nobody cares if you're injured or young or whatever.
Should a coach lose his job when he has that many injuries?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, that's you're asking the wrong guy.